Hey, welcome back to our channel, Sarah and Chance Worldwide. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Chance.
One of the most common questions that we see asked by people all over the internet is, how can you travel for cheap?
In this video, we're going to show you 12 tips to get out and finally travel the world on a budget. Are you sick of scrolling through your social media feeds and seeing all your friends and their friends and all these other people traveling the world and getting out of their hometown and seeing places, experiencing things you've never seen before, and wondering how it's possible for these people to be affording this and their normal lives? If this sounds anything like you, then stay tuned because these 12 tips are meant for you. Before we get into this video though, if you haven't seen our first video, which is how to travel to Japan for 3 weeks for $3,000 or less, check it out. We're going to link it up above. It's really this video is going to go more into depth about certain things, but that will give you a good baseline to start this video with.
So tip number 1 for traveling cheap in 2019 would be to make sure that you are flexible with your dates of travel. Obviously, you might have a specific season in mind for the country that you want to visit, but don't ask off specific dates from your job before you have checked the affordability on Google Flights or on flight tracking apps. Make sure that you base your specific travel dates with the prices that you're able to book.
Tip number 2 that we're going to go over in this video is to not use tour guides or tour groups. Don't book this extravagant tour group package that you find somewhere online with a tagline saying experience like a local or something crazy like that for way too much money, when you can go to the country and find free tour guides even in certain areas that may or may not even accept tips.
Yep, and even if you don't want to do that, it's perfectly fine in our experience to just show up, know what you want to do and what you want to see, and just go for it. Just like DIY your whole trip. It's way cheaper. Like, yeah, you may miss things, but that's the reality of it. You're going to be in a new country exploring all day. Who cares if you miss one thing?
It's all about the adventure.
Yeah. Tip number 3 is check the country that you are arriving in to see if they have anything like a local train pass or a local bus or subway pass. A lot of countries, especially in Europe and Asia, do have local passes that you can buy for 3 to 7 days. In Japan, even up to 3 weeks, that can make your public transit a lot cheaper by bulking the amount that you're buying.
Even if you look through all 3 of these options and wherever you're going to and they don't really seem that affordable, you can always just walk. Try to find a way to walk the most out of each of these. Try to find the cheapest way to get to and from, and then walk the rest of the distance. That's the best way to really go out and see wherever you're going to be anyway.
You can also look to see if it's a popular option to rent a bike.
So tip number 4 works a lot like tip number 3. It's about buses and trains versus taxis. You're going to want to usually skip taxis and go for public transport because taxis can really rack up the bills very, very quickly.
Tip number 5. When you're going to book your flights, make sure that if you're using Google Flights on your computer to use an Incognito Browser, because Google has the tendency to remember what you've been searching for flight-wise and keep those prices above what you saw the first time. They're really sneaky about it. Another thing going along with that is that if you do live in America or another equally wealthy country, use a VPN server to try and limit the amount of data that Google has about where you're searching from, because they will charge you more knowing that you're in a rich country.
So tip number 6 goes along with tip number 5 yet again. It's using and taking advantage of apps and services like Skyscanner, Hopper, and Scott's Cheap Flights. Those are flight tracking apps that will help you figure out when around the dates that you are looking for are the cheapest and when you should buy, or when you should also wait for the price to drop.
Yeah, they're really helpful. Skyscanner and Hopper are both available on Android and Apple. Scott's Cheap Flights is an email service that you can actually Google scottscheapflights.com and sign up for free. There's a paid option, but even the free option is awesome, and they'll send you emails every day or every other day with crazy cheap flights all over the world. Tip number 7 is make sure that you book your flights and your accommodations early. Waiting till the last minute most commonly will make your expenses higher, especially with flights. So be tracking those flights, be purchasing them somewhere between 8 and 5 months in advance. I wouldn't recommend waiting much longer than that. Same with hotels and Airbnbs. There are a couple exceptions where they will drop those prices on accommodations at the last minute just because they want to fill the rooms, but that's a really risky thing to do. I would definitely still recommend booking early.
Yeah, especially if you're looking early, because then you'll have way more options and you won't be stuck going to a specific area when you'd rather go somewhere else. There'll be a whole open book for you to book your trip.
Yep.
All right, so tip number 8 is about your phone, using your phone while you're abroad. It is about local SIM cards and portable Wi-Fi's. Booking your trip, you're gonna wanna make sure that you try to find a mobile Wi-Fi company that has a really competitive rate. We usually use Ninja Wi-Fi in Japan. It's been really helpful for us, but also if you want to go the SIM card route, you can get a local data SIM card that will connect right into your phone and you'll be set to go on data. You'll be able to use the towers wherever you are and have connectivity to message, call on some SIM cards, and use the web.
Yep, don't assume that your phone company is not going to charge you outrageous fees for using your regular data plan, because in most cases, they will.
They might have an international plan, but even those usually end up costing more than and not being as helpful as getting a SIM card or portable Wi-Fi.
Tip number 9, don't buy souvenirs. I know that sounds terrible, but it just takes up space in your bags, causing you to have to check more bags, pay more there, pay more in each store that you go to. There's 1,000 options for souvenirs anywhere you go. It's really tempting, but honestly, nothing is gonna be more worthwhile to you than the photos and the memories of your trip.
Yeah, if you feel like you really can't live without getting souvenirs for yourself or for friends or family, stick with the cheap things. Go to a dollar store and get a bunch of dollar items, or get like a bag of candy or something that you can distribute to your friends and family. Think of cheap ways to get souvenirs for people and yourself, and try to stick with the memories and the photos to solidify those memories. So tip number 10 is fly with no checked bags. Okay, hear me out now. Most international flights that you book will allow 2 checked bags, but say you go with a company that doesn't allow checked bags, it's not the end of the world. You don't have to pay the extra 30 or 60 bucks per way per bag on these checked bags. You can go with a big backpack and a personal bag and have such a good trip without even worrying about having to lug around your suitcase to and from.
Yeah, usually it's more trouble than it's worth, honestly. Tip number 11. Cook your own meals. This is really easy if you stay in a hostel or an Airbnb. It's a little harder with hotels, so just remember that. But yeah, basically check out the local supermarkets, check out the convenience stores, the produce markets on the streets, and start cooking in your own house or your own apartment. If you do want to go out to eat, choose lunch over dinner. You will save a ton of money. Dinner is always almost double the amount of cost per entree in almost all the countries of the world. So if you do want to eat out and experience that on your trip, go early.
All right, tip number 12 ties in with tip number 11 very well. It is hostels, mixed dorms, and Airbnbs. Hostels and mixed dorms are, if you don't know, usually shared house style accommodations where you're living in, say, like bunk beds or like one big room. That's a communion style living. Airbnb have those options, as well as private rooms and entire houses. Those will be the ones that you can go to cook your own meal and save a little bit extra money. And don't be worried if you are a solo female traveler or you're just a shy traveler in general, because they usually have gender specific hostels rather than mixed dormitories.
And the nightly cost per stay is usually a lot lower for these styles of housing as opposed to the traditional hotels in the countries you go to. You can usually find mixed dorms and hostels in a lot of countries for under 20 USD. And Airbnb is a huge variety of homes, but they can also get that cheap.
So hopefully these 12 tips that we just went over with you help you feel more empowered and able to start your adventure today.
Yeah, hopefully it doesn't seem quite as impossible or far out there after hearing how easy it is to cut costs in so many different ways while traveling, even internationally.
If this video was helpful for you, make sure to leave us a like. Comment down below if you had any questions that we didn't go over or you want us to expand on anything. We would love to make more videos for you about this topic. We feel very passionately about it. And if you want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe. It really helps out our channel.
So much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you next time.
Bye.